Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to call this meeting to order, the Mayor and Board of Commissioners for September the 12th, 2017. Can I get the roll call, please?
Commissioner Arthurleaf,
Here.
Commissioner Braun,
Here.
Commissioner Pearson,
Here.
Commissioner Warnick,
Here.
Mayor Marion.
Here.
Let the record reflect that all of the elected officials are present.
Will you rise with me for a pledge of allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Will you bow your heads with me for a brief prayer, please? Father God, I come to you tonight on behalf of our town, our citizens, and our elected body, Lord. I hope that you will watch over us and watch over our families, Lord. I ask that you watch over those that are victims in Florida of the recent hurricane and those in Texas as well. Be with them, Lord, as they start the rebuilding process. Keep them in our prayers, Lord, as we watch the rebuilding process there. I ask that you watch over our police department, Lord, all of our law enforcement, fire and EMS community, as well as our servicemen and women who are serving overseas. Be with us as we leave here this evening, and be with us as we join here again. In Jesus' name, amen. I need a motion to amend this portion of the agenda to place the 9-5 executive session, which wasn't on the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? The only discussion is that it was a momentary lapse not to place it on there. But can I get a all in favor?
Aye.
Passes. Thank you. Dave, do you have that report for the executive session?
I do. The Rising Sun Board of Mayor and Commissioners met on September 5th, 2017 at 7 p.m. for an executive session. A motion to open the meeting was made by Commissioner Pearson and seconded by Commissioner Braun. That was a unanimous vote of all the elected body. All the members, those present at the executive session were all the members of the elected body, including the mayor and all 4 commissioners. There was a motion to hold an executive session made by Commissioner Pearson and seconded by Commissioner Braun. That vote passed 4-0. The citation of authority was to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any personnel matter that affects one or more specific individuals. The topics discussed were employee performance evaluation and direction. There were no additional persons present at the meeting. A motion to seal the minutes was made by Commissioner Pearson and seconded by Commissioner Arthurleaf. That motion passed 4-0. The motion of leave to leave executive session was made by Commissioner Pearson and seconded by Commissioner Braun. That motion passed 4-0. And the motion to adjourn the meeting was made by Commissioner Pearson and seconded by Commissioner Warnick, and that was a vote of 4-0. Meeting adjourned at 8:35 p.m.
Thank you, Commissioner Warnick. Can I get a motion to approve those?
I make a motion, we approve them.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you. All right. There's no public presentations or business meeting items. So,
Actually, Mr. Mayor,
yes.
there was one, something kind of late breaking I wanted to kind of go over real quick, I suppose, in the public presentation.
Okay, go ahead.
I received a call from a resident, or I guess the town received a call from a resident. I called her back and talked to her about escrow accounts. And she was explaining to me some difficulties she had with her bank with her escrow account. And it suggested that we might want to advise our citizens of some of the legalities and such with our escrow account, or with a mortgage escrow account, so that people can kind of be educated and aware of what their rights are and such with escrow accounts. So I kind of want to start off with an escrow account associated with your mortgage is your money. So whatever money you put in there is your money, and when it's all said and done, if there's extra money left in there when your mortgage is paid off, that's your money that you get back. That said, there are restrictions on how much a bank can demand of you throughout the year on an escrow account. So banks are allowed to basically ask for a 1/6 cushion by federal law. In other words, 2 months of your escrow payments effectively they can ask for as a cushion to cover that escrow account throughout the year. So if, let's say your taxes are $2,000 a year and your homeowner's insurance is $1,000 a year, and I picked those numbers because they're nice, easy numbers to work with, a 1/6 cushion of $3,000 would be, well, 1/6 of 3,000. I was going to say that'd be 600, but it's actually more like 500. Yeah. So they could basically ask for an additional $500 in cushion throughout the year. Now that's not $500 at once. That's $500 spread out over 12 months. So your payment, instead of being $3,000 divided by 12, might be $3,500 divided by 12. I probably should have had the numbers handy. I can do them real quick. What that would amount to is, like with an average, so let's say it was 3,000 divided by 12, your $250 a month escrow, you might be asked to pay $291 a month to cover that cushion throughout the year. So there's something called a shortage. A shortage is actually the minimum amount throughout the year in your escrow account. So after your insurance and your taxes are paid, and escrow accounts are meant to pay insurance and taxes, and that's about it. So there may be flood insurance or whatever, but for the most part, it's your homeowner's insurance and your taxes for most people. If you have a shortage throughout the year, that basically means that as your escrow account is paying out your insurance and taxes, at no point should your balance dip below 1/6 of the amount needed to fund your escrow account. So in this case, $500. Right? So if your insurance payment comes, let's say your escrow starts in January and runs through December, you're adding $250 a month, or I'm sorry, almost $300 a month to your escrow account, and let's say $1,000 comes out in February. That would actually lower your escrow balance below the 1/6. Therefore, the bank can actually require that there be enough in there when those payments come out to be 1/6 of the balance. And then once that padding's built to accommodate that, going forward, it should pretty well work itself out that so subsequent years, when they run your escrow analysis, that you would have enough at the time the insurance comes out. So what that means is, and it's really hard to use examples without kind of having individual examples, but when taxes come out in July, and the half your taxes will come out in July out of the 2,000, so 1,000 comes out, you can't dip below $500. When your taxes come out again in December or January, typically December, again, you can't dip below that amount. Now, when they run the escrow analysis, if they discover that you have more than $50 in surplus, which is more money than's necessary to keep, the amount that you have to pay through tax and insurance plus your cushion. If you're more than $50 at the time of the escrow analysis, under federal law, they're required to issue a refund check. Again, it's your money, so if they've got too much in there to, pay your bills plus have a margin to keep them from having to bankroll your bills, then at that point, they have to issue a refund. If it's less than $50, they have two choices. One, they can issue the refund for less than $50, or two, they can apply that as a credit towards next year's escrow payments. So let's say it's $48, they could, instead of issuing a check for $48, they could reduce your escrow payment the following year by $4 a month. They're also required under federal law, banks required to have an escrow analysis annually, and that's when they will basically give you a monthly breakdown of how much you pay, where your starting balance is, how much you pay in each month, where payments are made, disbursements are made, and what that results in your balance being. And then once those are paid out, as long as you stay over that one. So basically what they look for is your low point, and your low point is where they're trying to get to that 1/6. So whatever point throughout the year you have the least balance, that least balance should be equal to 1/6 of your total annual escrow payments. And that's the point at which they're aiming for. That's actually where they base the surplus or the deficit or surplus on is, or the shortage or surplus is based on that lowest point throughout the year. So I guess the long and short of all of that, because that's really technical, and some of the, so there's some people, I guess, that, and I mean, honestly, my escrow account was adjusted. You kind of have two choices. If you're, in the case of the debt service tax, if that, when that was applied, or if your taxes go up or anything like that, your insurance goes up, whatever it may be, you kind of have two choices. One, if you know that it's going to go up by a certain amount and you have a chance to pay that in, you can actually contact your bank and pay that in. Now, I know there's some people that did that, and then some people, more than likely most people didn't, but I'm sure there's at least some people that did, and the person that I talked to had done that. That should prevent you from having that shortage if you pay that in. And when they do the escrow analysis, at that point, they should be accounting for future years. Now, or future year, I should say. If you didn't pay that in, then your escrow will have a shortage, which means that you're going to have to close that shortage, and then they're also going to adjust it up to compensate for the following year's increase. So, like in my case, I didn't pay anything in. I just figured, I'm not going to worry about it. I'll worry about it when it comes in. And so as a result, I had the shortage to make up plus what the new amount was. So this year, my mortgage payment has gone up a little bit as accordingly. And next year, I would expect, because this year I'm paying effectively 2 years, the previous year plus this year's, that next year my mortgage payment will go back down to kind of the equilibrium level, which will be what my escrow is necessary for my current tax and insurance. So anyway, that's kind of.
Calvin, I
my
guess
explanation.
the one thing that I wanted to clear up was the debt service was placed on utility bills prior. Is that correct?
Yes.
Do you remember when that debt service came in? Because obviously it was before I was here when we started placing the debt service on there.
It actually goes back before I came here.
Okay.
It's always been the sewer and water debt service charge on the bill.
Okay. And what Commissioner Warnick is talking about is when we moved it over
Yeah.
and took it off the utility service billing and placed it on, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr.
Yeah.
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
the lady that you spoke to, I believe, was Sandy Campbell.
Yeah. And she's
Sandy, would you please stand up?
We're moving into citizens input, so
Yeah.
you can obviously
Sorry.
be first. That's fine.
Okay. I talked to Calvin and Dave both about the town debt tax and the issue with my mortgage. I've been a resident for 31 years. Okay, so what happened was we started with the $35 on our utility bills and was moved over to our taxes in July of last year. So I got my mortgage readjustment for my escrow, and it added $38 to my mortgage. And I was okay with that. Even though the bill was $385, I was still being paid out $456. So I called the mortgage company and they said, you have a choice where you can pay it at the county finance level. I don't have to have it on my mortgage. So I could pay it outright with the county tax finance department. I opted to keep it on there because I was like, $38. So this year, my bank decided to add $38 more for the same tax. So I was now paying $76 more a month on my mortgage for our $35 bill that I was paying monthly before.
Separate.
Yeah. So when you add those two up, I'm paying $912 for a $385 bill that I was paying $35 for every month. I'm now paying $76. Well, I called Bank of America and I said, can you please justify this? And the first representative I got, she says, well, we don't know whether your town's going to increase the bill, so it's a bill that you have to pay. Okay, so I was trying to calm down, left her, thought about my next approach, so I called back again and got another person and was pretty well told the same thing. It's a bill, you have to deal with it. Well, after talking to her, she finally put me over to a tax representative, whereas where I landed last year, who was very fairly told me I could pay the bill outright or deal with it every month, you know. And they also had the letter that the town gave us in July of 2016, 15? Is it 15 or 16? 15. 16? 16. Yeah. I had sent that to them. They wanted that letter because of where that bill, what it was for, is what they wanted to know, which it very distinctly says trash bill on there also. And they are services not yet rendered. There's a difference there. Which is just, it's $21 of that bill, tax bill. Okay, so I got to the tax lady and she was very happy to help me. She said, I see what you're talking about. There's no sense in us going that route of charging you another $38. There's no guarantee that the town will not increase my bill, you know, that tax debt bill. Gets kind of twisted, doesn't it? But then we can deal with the shortage, which, okay, we're okay with that. But to pay out $912, that's $530 more than that bill is, that I could use throughout the year to pay other bills. Because you never, ever want to overpay on your taxes, as my brother-in-law used to say, you know, because that's money that you could live off of. And if this is happening to me, I know that it might be happening to somebody else, and it is a burden when it's put on my mortgage. When it was on my utility bill, you would shut my water off. When it comes on my mortgage bill throughout the year, it's a little bit more of a burden, especially when I say we live a farmer's life. We're in construction. It gets tight in the wintertime. And plus, if I didn't pay it at the county level, pay it outright, then a lien can be put on my house. The town can take my house. Whereas before, you could shut my water off. When I sell my house, I don't get that money back now with it being on my tax bill. The only way I can guarantee that I can get that back is if the seller pays me that money, a prorated. And you have to be careful and watch for that because they're not going to give it up easy. So that's another term. Whereas before, if it's on my utility bill, once I sell that house, the next owner takes over that bill. So there's trickling down side to this. Also, my other thing is my son has a house out in Calvert. It's appraised $55,000 more than my house, and I'm paying $1,100 more taxes than him. People are going to balk on that. They're not going to want my house with all those taxes because that's one big thing that they're going to look at. So we really need to think this out, and that's all I got to say about that.
This just happened to you this year?
Yeah, well, we've only had the tax thing for 2 years, well, not even a year.
I have been Bank of America and I've never dealt with that. I'm more than
Well, that's good, but it did happen to me. You know, and that's a big burden.
I will tell you, if you sell your house any leftover balance in your escrow account, they'll basically do a prorate of your taxes throughout the year, so.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you have leftover money in your escrow account, again, that's your money. It'll be returned back to you once anything's satisfied. Well, you would actually just, during settlement, they would refund the escrow balance. And at the settlement table, if let's say you moved out January 1st. So you owe half the year's taxes, the new owners owes half the year's taxes. At that point,
It's all prorated.
it would be prorated.
Yeah.
You would pay half, they would pay half. And you would receive a full refund of your escrow
But
balance.
they
at that
said, be
moment.
careful, you gotta watch for that.
Well, that's
because they
true of
won't-
anything
Yeah.
at settlement table. I mean, you gotta watch that they don't, the people moving out don't steal the carpet or something. I mean, just, like, not, I'm kidding about that, but, it's like, anything that you work out, like if it's appliances, you have to make sure the people moving out don't take the appliances. So those are always the cases with
Well, I'm talking about the
settlement. And I'm
people
not
that are
suggesting you would, I'm
coming
just
in.
saying that, like, that's always, on both sides, you have to watch and make sure the contracts are what you want them to be.
Yeah, yeah. Now you made me forget what I was gonna say.
I apologize.
Darn you. I want to. My only thing that's holding me is my husband, because we redid that whole house. We bought that house as is, and we redid it. And now we're looking at to where we have to do some things to it again. And the market out there is not good. Every house that I've looked at has been gutted on the inside. It's just atrocious, So the market's not that great. I did find a house that I liked in Bayview, and darn it, as soon as I found it, they took it off the market. So, but,
Can I ask a question? Just to make sure I'm clear. So your mortgage company made a little bit of a mistake. They overcharged you,
yeah, because
and you've got that straightened out. They were actually taking too much money. Is that what I heard?
the first year, it was, in your escrow, they always have to have a little bit more, which I
Right.
understand.
I have the same
I'm good
thing. I
with
have
that.
the
Yeah, I'm
escrow.
good
the
with that
tax-
cushion.
Yeah, but all
Yeah.
I'm saying, they upped it too much, is what you're
They-
saying, and you called
They
them.
doubled it, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
and they thought that the town was gonna bash me with another 385. They said,
Yeah.
you're gonna get another bill like that. I'm like, no, I hope not.
No,
you know,
we didn't raise any
and-
this year either. Some people were mistaken, thinking that we raised our constant yield this year, and we didn't.
No, no.
So, actually, we were able to not raise the water this past year too, like we originally had thought we would.
Mm-hmm.
But we actually, due to, being good stewards of the money and through Calvin's work in the budget and the 8 or 9 budget meetings we had, found that we were able to, not
Yeah,
implement that at
because-
this time, because we knew the county tax, which mine went up to, our
Mm-hmm.
county tax, so.
Well, when I
Understand.
called and she told me that I had to write a letter, she said, write a letter saying that you don't give them permission to do the above and beyond
Yeah.
amount. And the next thing I knew, I got an email from Bank of America saying, your escrow overpayment check is in the mail. So I actually got $80 back.
Yeah. And I've gotten those in the past,
Yeah.
and I
So-
turn around and mail them right back and say, put that in my escrow, because I know it never goes down significantly, it always goes up.
Well, and I called we've been in the house so long, I called Nationwide and I said, can you rewrite my insurance policy? So she got me down $135.
Good.
So you've got to have ways to help yourself.
And you
too.
have to be diligent on your
Yeah.
own. You have to really
Yeah.
watch
But
closely.
there's some
And some people don't.
some town people that may not be able to do that or don't know to do that.
Yeah.
We can't always,
Well, I think that's part of Commissioner Warnick's presentation tonight, was you brought something to light for us that,
yeah.
we didn't think about, or other residents might have not thought about, was notice, hey, the numbers don't match. This has gone up too far. My mortgage company made a mistake.
It was an
wasn't the town.
unseen, yeah.
So it's good. That way other residents will know to
Right.
watch their mortgage statements for that and their escrows.
Right, and, you can put it on Facebook a little bit, you can put it in the paper, I can come here, but it's still not gonna hit the majority of the people in this town. So that's the reason I'm going different avenues, to let them know so that they have the idea that they can fix this, or at
Good.
least,
Good.
yeah. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
Basically, no incentive to live in town.
Chief?
There isn't.
Chief's not gonna be
There
here.
used to be, my husband's fought me all this time because of the sewer and everything.
Town Administrator, do you have a report?
The only two things I have on my report is you have the last two staff meeting reports in your packet from the Police Chief, Public Works Department and Administration. The other item is the Way of Life Church did get their approval for their daycare. We now have a daycare center that is looking to open up in the shopping center where the Domino's Pizza is at up there on Colonial Way. They will meet before the Planning Commission this Monday night for their hearing, and then the following Monday on the 25th, they will present in front of the Board of Appeals. And it's for a daycare center with up to 50 children.
Thank you, Town Administrator. Historical Preservation Commission, any report this evening? You can do it right from there.
Thank you. The, Civil War reenactment, the date has been changed to 3/6, October 6, 7, and 8. It's been moved up because of some conflicts, etc. And we invite everybody to come see it. The school's open, will be there on Friday, and the actual open to the public will take place on Saturday and Sunday. There will be some battles formed, and you'll get a chance to observe some actual Civil War memorabilia, as well as get to see Civil War soldiers in action and the campsite. And that's all.
Thank you. Any old business? Any new business? All right, we'll move right into the mayor's report. I did want to remind everyone that, believe it or not, I will be, with the board's approval, be naming my first street, and that is in honor of Jim Jones. Reverend Jim Jones Lane will be unveiled on Saturday at 10 a.m. I'm really excited to meet with Reverend Jones's family and the church body at Jane's United Methodist Church. For me, and I think when I came to the elected body, we all agreed, Reverend Jim Jones was a pillar of this community. He did a lot for this town, and I think it's just the right thing to do. So I'm excited to be able to do that in his honor. I also wanted to say that myself and my girlfriend Jo went out to Plumpton Park Zoo and saw their zoo babies this past Saturday. They're going to be doing those zoo babies, believe it or not, this upcoming Friday and Saturday. You can check our town Facebook for the times. I'm going to share that from Plumpton Park Zoo. But they have an Arctic wolf cub, as well as, I believe it's a Bengal cub that they have. And as well as some continental giant rabbits that the kids can play with. But Plumpton Park Zoo is doing so many great things, and it's just amazing how they've cleaned that place up and have really brought an attraction to our town. So I'm excited about that. I wanted to remind everyone, if you haven't seen, the lights have been turned green again for Donate Life Month. Myself and Commissioner Auchenreith are wearing pins. Donate Life Month is in memorial of Benjamin Edward Larson. Ben was 17 years old when he was fatally wounded in a motorcycle accident, but his organs were donated and saved 6 people. If you are not a donor, consider signing up downstairs at Town Hall. We have a sign-up form down there. But close to 30,000 people are on the donation list in Maryland alone. And anything that we can do, you can even be a living donor, so you don't have to pass away to donate some of your organs. But this is vital, and this is something that I am passionate about. I wear this Donate Life bracelet. It's something that I haven't taken off in many years, but it's something that I'm passionate about. So that's why the lights are green and that we're promoting Donate Life. I also visited Rising Sun Elementary School with Chief Peterson for their back-to-school event. Lucky for me, I didn't have to serve any Rita's Ice, so I just got to stand there and, according to our local reporter, stand and look pretty. So it was a nice event.
Who said that?
I enjoyed being able to interact with the kids and meet with the parents as well. I will be going out to Rising Sun High School on Thursday and meeting with some kids there as well, and just to see how they're doing with back to school. And then I'll be headed over to the middle school as well. So I'm looking forward to that. That concludes the mayor's report. Commissioner Arthrenreith.
Thank you, sir. Got some pictures I want to share with everybody as Calvin gets those ready. First, though, I want to give you a little update on the water situation. We advertised for bids for construction August 31st, and then today we had a pre-bid voluntary meeting with contractors could come in, hear face-to-face what's going on, and purchase some more of the plans and the bid qualification documents. So just happy to say that after all the years of working on this, things are happening. We actually were at a pre-bid meeting this morning, and we've got approval. I think Ryan said that MDE has given us a written approval. So our next step will be to collect bids. We plan to open them on October 9th. They will be reviewed by KCI Engineering, and we should have our recommendation for award by October 13th. We're also looking to set up, weather permitting, a nice groundbreaking for this event. So, like I said, I got some pictures. Calvin, if you can put these up. You know, we're 3 years into our terms, me and the mayor and Commissioner Warnick, and I recently had to go get a new phone. So, as we do when we get new phones, we start going through, looking at stuff, and like, oh man, I had that picture and I had that picture. So I found a lot of pictures that I want to share with everyone tonight of some things that have been going on over the past 3 years. So Calvin, whenever you're ready. I don't know if anybody can tell, but you know, from the cloud of smoke there, that was our fire at Bigfoot. Calvin, you can go ahead and just more pictures of, you know, Bigfoot going up in flames, a landmark here in the town that everybody knew and everybody loved. Another picture after the smoke cleared, and we all had to drive past that for a little while. And then Milt reopened, rebuilt. There's a nice picture of our group, including Commissioners LaShear and Shepard, who had to leave us early due to family commitments and other things. Because one thing that this position you find once you get into it, and Tom, you can vouch for this, it takes a lot of time away from your family, away from your job, to do this position correctly. So we were glad to be there. Cheesesteaks in hand. There's the mayor and Commissioner Warnick and Shepard and LaShear. And, you know, and you can see Commissioner Warnick saying, "Come on, Mayor, get out of the way."
Yep.
I know what I want.
You know. And then we had a real nice visit with the governor. He came up to Cecil County. We met him over at Kilby Cream. He got to, you know, see what's going on. There's a nice selfie of me and a real serious guy. I wish he was up here to see this, so you could see how serious he looks. That was during our event at Kilby Cream when the governor came up. And there's, once again, a group of the mayor and us commissioners together with the mayor at a local establishment here in the county, which had a very successful Movies in the Park just a couple of weeks ago. I went over to see if Commissioner Warnick needed my help, and man, he had like 200 plus people there waiting for the movie to start. Okay, Calvin. And then we also got a chance to meet with Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford. I think this was not too long ago. This was back in the springtime. He came up to Cecil County also to thank everybody for supporting him and Governor Hogan. And we wanted to go out and talk to him about what we've done here in Rising Sun. Thank the governor for the $500,000 that Mayor Marion was able to work with him to get us this past year in the budget, and to let you know, Lieutenant Governor Rutherford know what we're doing, and we still need more help. And what you don't see there, unfortunately, was that was a good picture I didn't get, where actually Pauline is with us as a commissioner. I have several pictures of us as a group, and we all went out together for this event. We surrounded him. Actually, it was pouring down rain that day. Everybody was late. So we circled him and held him captive for a little while. Okay, Calvin. This is a picture of me this summer down in Southern Virginia, my hometown of Abingdon, Virginia. One thing that this group of commissioners, mayor, has done, we back our police officers. We back the blue. And while I was in Southern Virginia in my little hometown, the police chief put together a small package of goodies for the police department down there, stopped in and met with them. And one of the officers was kind enough to take a picture of I Love Rising Sun t-shirt that he was holding. We gave him some stuff to give out to underprivileged kids there. That was about 500 miles from here. Abingdon, Virginia, where I'm originally from. Okay, Calvin. This is a picture of us, me, Calvin, Kevin Hornberger, Commissioner Warnick, at Cecil Knight in Annapolis. We've gone out quite often as a group to work for the town, to make things happen, make connections, so that we can, get the town of Rising Sun out there, make things happen, make people want to stay in this town, make people want to move here, and I think they do. We've got an upcoming project, a couple going on right now, and one coming up that I think is going to be a big benefit and make people want to live here, and glad they do. Calvin. Here's one of our recent events that was started a couple years ago that's been a big success and we've continued to do. Anybody know what this is? That's right, our police officers breakfast we annually have. Commissioner Scully, when she was with us, started this and we've continued it on. There's Commissioner Braun serving there in the corner. Yeah, I got some of you in there, Pauline. So, and I think that's Lisa back there in line with the police officers. So we've continued that. It's been great to be part of that. Okay, Calvin. This is a somber time. A couple of years ago, we had the shooting of the two sheriff's officers down Harford County at the Panera Bread. We put together a nightly remembrance of them, and Sheriff Gaylor came up, and that's a picture of him, me, and Calvin. And there's a nice picture out of, I think that's out of the Herald there, where we had over 200 people show up to show their support for police officers, not just in Cecil County, but Harford County, all over the place. We know the police officers have a tough job, very tough job. And you see on the news a lot of criticism. It takes one or two bad ones to make it bad for everybody. I've been a mechanic all my life, and one or two bad mechanics make us all look like thieves. But we back and support the blue and our police officers. And right there's a good shot of the town of Rising Sun coming out to prove their support. Here's another event that we've had in this town that makes it a great place, the Color Fun Run. That's a picture of my wife Donna and Commissioner Warnick's daughter a couple years ago. And that was a good event. We had a big turnout. I think we've done that 2 years, didn't we, Mayor?
Yes.
Another good picture of them covered in all the, those were white t-shirts when they started, and white sneakers. So here's a good picture from this summer. That's your team of the mayor, Commissioner Warnick, me, Commissioner Althreath, our police department, winning the tug of war with the Chamber of Commerce.
Whoa,
Commissioner Pearson was
Commissioner
on.
you forgot somebody.
Did you get in there?
He
I
was
was
the
the
anchor.
He
anchor.
was the anchor at the end. He's the only way we won.
Well, I could see, for some reason or another, they just got the main players. But yes, we
I
had
was a little too big for the picture.
So, that was a great event. I think the whole community rallies around to watch that tug of war and then the pie eating contest that Vince has started. And we have a great time with that because kids and adults get into that. Another great family event that we have here in town. Before I go any farther about some of the street work we've done, a couple of things that I didn't have pictures for that we've done this year that I was able to participate in. The Little League Baseball parade that kicked off this year, I was able to participate in that. And it was cold that day, but man, it was a great event. The streets were lined. I was really surprised how many people showed up. And I heard it was actually a small turnout this year, that it's always been bigger. That was an outstanding event to be part of, as well as the fishing derby. With our partner from Mark Hyman and his group from Ramsey Ford came down and head that up with the Lions Club, Norm Hunter, Bud McFadden and those guys. And man, that was almost brought tears to my eye to see the families down there that day with their children, their grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. just out there catching fish. They had a blast, and they caught a lot of fish that day too. It's another great project. So as you can see, some of the money that is coming out of these debt service fees have been for paving some roads, and also, Calvin, if you go to the next one, some serious infrastructure, expensive, serious infrastructure problems we have. That's Ryan Drive, the cul-de-sac up at Ryan Drive. When we had the water lines all start breaking at the connection all at one time. As you can see, the picture on the left here was where it started. Our guys were out there digging it up. Calvin, if you can go on. The hole got bigger. Calvin, if you keep going. And then the hole turned into a trench. You can see here on this picture on the left, the connection band had totally rotted off. And that seemed to happen in succession, one house after the other on Ryan Drive. You can see the trench we wound up digging up where we found that the road was not properly bedded with the proper stone and soil. On the far right here, you can see the new connection. Our guys, the public works guys, got out there in the cold and the rain and worked on for quite some time. Calvin, if you'll move the next one. Here's a picture of our guys down in the hole, working in the mud, the unsung heroes of the town of Rising Sun that are out there plowing snow, shoveling snow, salting, digging. You know, once a water main breaks, it becomes a mud hole, and those guys get down in there in the cold, and they stay at it until the town has water back up. So this is more that. Here's another great event we got to be part of this year. Riviera Maya was in a small facility down here, Tom Dye's little mall, and very successful. They were able to buy the old townhouse restaurant. They put a good, Calvin, how much money do you think they put into that place?
I would say close to 6 figures, a lot of money.
And they not only did the outside, they did the inside. Calvin, as our building inspector, worked with the owners shown there in the middle. And they actually thought that they were going to be delayed a couple of days, and they worked through the night to finish up and to open up. And we got to participate and be part of that grand opening that day. It's a beautiful place. You can see good pictures of the inside. They put a lot of money into that deck outside, and they've been very busy. They've been open 7 days a week since that opening day, and the food is still great. The margaritas are awesome. As I can say. Calvin, if you. Another thing we got to be part of, and Augie, I had a good picture of you, and I don't know if it came through, but here's the grand opening of our sewer plant. Tom, you got to be part of this a while back. You were instrumental in helping through the years as mayor and a commissioner and a planning board. We were told, you're going to build a state-of-the-art sewer plant. You can no longer use that lagoon out there that you can see in the background, all covered in green. We can no longer use that. Too much pollutants going into the Octorara River and then into the Chesapeake Bay. So there's some of our expenses these days. But we've got a state-of-the-art sewer plant that's very environmentally friendly, can hold expansion of the town, and it was a beautiful job. Now, we had some trouble during the construction phase. It took a little longer than we expected. There was a small lawsuit that came out of it. I think, well, I won't say small. The town was being sued for over $2 million, and we spent the night in negotiations with the mediator, and were able to bring it down to $600,000. And the town was going to have to pay that $2 million, but we were successful. We spent the time there that night and negotiated and brought it down significantly. And this was with a contractor that started the job but didn't finish. Calvin, if you're going to the next one. Here's a picture I'm really proud to be part of. This was the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. We met in Annapolis. We had a meeting in Harrisburg, and then we met in Annapolis, and this was when the final vote of the Susquehanna River Basin Commission to approve the Chester Water Rising Sun Partnership for the new water transmission line. In the middle there's Secretary Department of Environment Grubbs, along with myself, Virginia Kearney, our lawyer Mike Klein, who's our water professional. The gentleman on the far left, I can't remember his name, Calvin, I don't know if you... Waleed, and he's from New York, wasn't he?
No, he's from MDE.
MDE?
He's in charge of the water division
Yeah.
of MDE.
Okay. So,
You know him well.
yeah, Tom, and Virginia Kearney, I'm sure you know that name. So we, like I said, that was down in Annapolis. I took a day off work to go down and set in on that. And they, through a lot of hard work and paying attention to details, they were happy with it and moved it forward. Okay, Calvin? Hey, you like that picture, Augie?
Oh, my goodness.
Oh,
So-
look at that.
This is a picture that I really like. This is another picture, and Pauline, I wish you could have made it that night with us. This was the quarterly MML, Maryland Municipal League, Hartford Cecil County chapter. Back right before Christmas, Elkton hosted the event that night, and the mayor, Commissioner Warnick, Commissioner Pearson, and myself were able to attend. You can see in the background there, I see, what's her name?
Mary Jo.
Mary Jo
Mary Jo,
Jablonski,
yeah.
who's a staple in Elkton. So one thing that this picture shows, you know, as you've seen through the theme through this, all of these events, we've attended as a group. Sometimes one or two of us can't make it, but for the most part, we've gone and shown outside of Rising Sun what we're doing in Rising Sun, how far we've come, where we're going, and that we're united as a group, as a town of commissioners who don't always agree on everything. But what we do agree on is we want the best for the town of Rising Sun. It's our home. We're residents first. We're not high-paid politicians that do this. We're residents of this town, and we care very deeply about it. And we've worked together for 3 years now. You know, Augie, we've worked together in the past before, and we brought Augie back on board along with Pauline to fill some vacancies. And we've continued to do some good work. This summer, we recently all, you know, sacrificed vacation time and went to Ocean City for the Maryland Municipal Summer Conference. We had a table set up and a stand showing off the town of Rising Sun. It was really received nice, and hats off to the mayor for all the stuff he put together for that. Calvin, if you'd go on to the next one. And here's a recent picture from a couple of weeks ago. I was able to talk about an event that's coming up, and this is a thing that I think is going to be a great benefit to the town. And so far, I haven't gotten a negative email. I'm sure I will from somebody. But next week, we're going to Elkton on the 19th. We've worked together with our Representative Dan Schneckenberger, Kevin Hornberger, Senator Norman, the District 35 team, who have really supported us. And they're going to deed over the railroad bed, the Octorara railroad bed that runs through town, over to the town of Rising Sun. And this is something Commissioner Warnick and I have talked about since back in 2007, 2008, when we first came on board on the Planning Commission, is that would be a great bicycle and walking trail. And grant money for rails to trails is available. So the first step is, let's get the property into town. It's going to be ours. And Commissioner Warnick has already started working on the connection in Veterans Park. And like I said, our county officials, Joyce Bowlesby, Jackie Gregory, Bob Meffley, and along with our Representative Dan Schneckenberger, have been behind us on this thing and are going to help us make it happen. So one of the things I really like about this is a project we've talked about for a while, and along with the water project that I've taken over in the past year, getting this kicked off, along with what Commissioner Warnick's been doing down in the park, building on what Mayor Marion started as the Parks and Rec Commissioner, we've been able to continue building this town. And what I'd like to do is ask for everybody's support in the election. I'm entering the election as a candidate, submitted my paperwork today, and I'd like to continue to work together with this whole group, not just Mayor Marion, Commissioner Warnick, but Commissioner Pearson and Commissioner Braun. We sacrificed a lot of free time. I've sacrificed a lot of vacation time, personal leave time. I want to thank my wife for all her support through the past 3 years as a commissioner. And I think Commissioner Warnick and I, for about 3 or 4 years before that, were planning and zoning members and chairman and co-chair of that board. So we've been involved in this for a long time, And we want to continue as a group involved in this. So we're asking for everybody's support. And I hope to be coming back here with more great pictures of all the stuff that we've done, all the things that Mayor Mummy had started in the past that we continue to build on. And just like I said, I'm in the race. I hope everybody will support me and come out on October 16th. And Calvin, is that all of our pictures tonight?
Yes, it is.
Okay, then I
Until
guess
my
I'm done.
presentation.
Yeah, until Commissioner Warnick's presentation, which the one thing that I would add is, I think Commissioner Autenreith put it straight. We haven't always had good times. We've had bad times as well. But the one thing that I think that we can all agree on is we work for Rising Sun. We're doing our best to promote our town and to move it forward. The other thing I think that this body will miss if I'm not here is I'm constantly telling them what to wear. So when you saw that picture of suits, I'm constantly sending them messages on to wear polos or to wear suits.
Guess
so
who didn't get the message,
I'm
folks?
I'm sure they'll miss that. No, I'm just kidding. Commissioner Braun? Okay. Commissioner Pearson?
Oh, well, first of all, I didn't get the message about suits, so you get me as I am. I have something I want to do that when I came on board, we were given shirts. Now, we really look much better in these shirts than my usual attire in prior years of t-shirts some nights and shorts and all. But it would only be fair to give Tom Mummy one also for all the years he put into this town.
Let Lisa have a picture of the label there, how good that
Well,
looks.
I'll give him giving it to him.
Oh, okay. Make sure you get his name and date on there.
Tom, we go back many years.
Yes, we do.
We've been through some good times and we have been through some bad times. You deserve this very much. And I'm really honored to give it to you.
Thank you.
Now I'll bore you with the rest of my stuff. The chief isn't here because we're actually doing police work. No, seriously. As you know, we've had some burglaries recently, and they're in the process of dealing with that tonight. I don't have the full figures because he just handed me the report and said, here it is. There's nothing really of significance in here. If anybody wants to see a copy of it, it will be downstairs for you to review. I guess the big thing that I have is Commissioner Autenreith touched upon our blue breakfast. When I came on board, it was only fair that we have a red breakfast too. On October the 13th, from 8 to 11, at Ford's Banquet Hall, we will have a breakfast for the fire and EMS personnel. That's active, retired, career, volunteer. We've had success with the blue breakfast. Hopefully we'll continue to have success with the red breakfast. I do have to say one thing though. I owe a lot to Mr. Bob Ford. He graciously is letting us use his facility because we have outgrown this facility in this room with the blue breakfast. And initial feedback I've gotten is the red breakfast will be just as successful.
And Commissioner Pearson, I think it's a well thing to say that a lot of the stuff for these breakfasts are donated as well. So that's a great thing
Yeah.
as well.
We have a sincere group of volunteers that come out and help serve. I took over last year for the first year and was amazed, first of all, how much cooking needs to be done. Word to the wise, do not start at 4 o'clock cooking bacon. You don't get it done in time. So it's something that we as a group feel that we should give back from a standpoint of saying thanks to probably some of the most thankless jobs that people just take for granted. And you don't always get that, oh, thank you for doing this, but this is our way as a community of saying thanks. I believe that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Pearson. Commissioner Warnick, do you have a report this evening?
I have, you know me, I have a long one tonight. So, Calvin, if you can bring up some of those pictures, start with, I guess, the first folder there. So, Commissioner Alton-Reith already alluded to this. We had a fairly successful Movies in the Park at Kilby Cream on, and it's all kind of blending together. It was the August 25th, I believe. We again, packed the field next to the building all the way back to the fence. Probably somewhere in the range of 250 to 300 people showed up. At one point, the field was full of people, and there was a line inside the building wrapped around all the way and spiraled inside of itself. It was amazing how many people came out. So, and that was the movie Sing. And that was a reschedule, actually, from the previous week because we had rain. Imagine that. On Night of Movies in the Park. The following week, which I don't have any pictures from, on September 1st, we had...
Commissioner Warnick, Kilby Cream paid for that movie, correct?
Yes. So on September 1st, we had a showing of Beauty and the Beast. And Beauty and the Beast was not as well attended, but it was on Labor Day weekend. So we weren't really sure how that was going to work out, and we had probably somewhere in the range of 10, 20, 30 people, something like that. It wasn't anywhere near the crowd that we had at Kilby's. We still had some people show up, but it wasn't as large of a crowd. But that was also rescheduled from, I want to say July, because of rain.
How much do movies cost? I heard him say.
Yes, the movies they have a licensing fee that you have to pay to be able to show them to the public. And depending on the movie, they can run between $250 to $300. So it's great that we have businesses that provide donations to cover that. Armstrong is another one that donated this year to do it because we certainly want to try to get as many donations as we can.
So the next movie is this Friday, Star Wars Rogue One. Again, looking at the weather, it may get rained out, which is so from now on, I think we're just going to hold Movies in the Park in the summer. We're just going to throw up random dates. We're not going to send out postcards of actual schedule anymore because what's the point? We missed every single date this year if this Friday gets rained out. But in all seriousness, if we have the movie, great. If not, I got to figure out if we're going to reschedule it or at this point, because it's starting to get pretty chilly out at night, and that diminishes the number of people that want to come out to Movies in the Park when it's 50 degrees outside. We may just postpone it to next year or something. We'll have to figure that out. We'll deal with the weather as it comes because, frankly, it's about all I can do. So anyway, that's Movies in the Park. On to the stream restoration project at Veterans Park. This picture is interesting. So we've been talking about the different construction techniques within the park, and I've talked about, I've learned a lot of phrases and terms over the last few months, but we talked about the tow wood, and this is actually some of the tow wood installation. If you look to the left, the dirt there is actually where the stream is now. So while they were working, they had dirt out over where the stream was being moved to, and then they put the logs in there, and then they put root balls in, and they pack it with dirt really tight, and that's it prevents erosion in the long term on the curves within the stream. So, kind of, you want to advance. Next picture. Okay, so we're actually to the point now. Today, I can say that we have the south side completed. What you see in the kind of the top right corner there, and we'll have more pictures later of the blue down there. It looks like they've spray painted the grass like a greenish blue. That's actually hydro seeding. So it's one of those real blessings in disguise, and it's a mix because the rain kills Movies in the Park and it makes things muddy. But on the other hand, we've been very fortunate to have a lot of rain this year, which has allowed the vegetation to grow back very rapidly that they've been planting. So, I'm kind of torn on it, but I'll just take it all as being what it is. So if we want to advance And so here's a little bit better view of the hydro seeding on the south side. So that portion has its final grade, and they put hydro seed down, and it's complete. So there's still some work, a little bit of work to be done on the other side of the stream. And there's actually, where their equipment is they're kind of, it's the area of their spoils and stuff. That area will be the last thing that's completed once everything's done and all the equipment's moved out. Then they'll go in and clean up that spot and hydro seed that, or seed that, however they finish that. So next slide.
Is that where the reenactment is going to be this year?
Yes. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. So again, this is here the V shape is actually a log vein, and the log veins are actually designed to center the stream back to the center. So we have 2 of them just before the bridge, which helps prevent erosion under the bridge. Additionally, those log veins allow for a change in elevation of the water. It creates a little bit of an audio, or actually some video of that in a minute. So if we move on to the next one. And so here's a little bit bigger log vein that we have a little further upstream. Next one. And it's also a good example of the riffles. This is actually, so we talked about the pools and the riffles. Here's one of the pool areas, and next slide.
How deep do you think that is there?
They vary. So some of them are around 2 feet. Some of them are closer to 3. As you get further back into the woods, the point of those areas are actually no deeper than they were before. They're just they've been realigned, and if you look at the riffles, they're designed to allow the water to move rapidly and change elevation. And the pools are actually where the sediment will drop out of the water as it's coming down through. So this is designed to reduce the sediments going into the Chesapeake Bay. And again, we have more of the hydro seeding. So and then kind of where I'm standing is actually the next part to be completed. So next picture.
That was it.
Okay. So if you want to go, there's actually a pretty good video of the audio, or that's a video with audio of the log veins. So it creates like a little bit of a waterfall effect, which we actually didn't have. So it's actually kind of peaceful. There's 4 of those throughout the project, and actually you can see like the riffles leading right up to the log vein, and then it dumps into a pool. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy about how it turned out. It was, again, this was a grant provided by the Department of Natural Resources out of the Chesapeake and Atlantic Bay Coastal Trust Fund, and I'm happy to say that the project is actually a little bit under budget, and it's running on schedule. So we hope we keep that up.
Where do the waters start and where are they going?
The water actually starts probably somewhere up around the Kilby Farm. It's up in that area, like it actually right on the Kilby Farm to be actual. And then it comes kind of behind the fire company through the old railroad tracks and then down through the park. Once it crosses under Hopewell Road, which we actually widened the approach to Hopewell Road up so that the water will flow better through the culvert, it joins in with another unnamed tributary, and that comes from the Mushroom Farm, and then it kind of goes down under the driveway for the graveyard, down through the common space of Rising Hills, past, it goes under Main Street there at bottom of the hill, Barn Grill, and then it goes down past Summer Hill, and then
Where's Mason
eventually,
Run?
yeah, and then eventually it dumps into Stone Run. Yeah. So, so this is actually the phase 2 of the project. So we have a total of 4 phases, and this is actually a phase 2. There's a pipe that dumps into that. So at the very kind of top left-hand corner of the picture, that area up in there, that brush that's there is like the cattails and such is actually a wetlands area within the park. There's a pipe that starts right where that grass is, kind of to the right. Right about there is where the pipe dumps into that wetlands. And because it dumps right into the mud and silt, it can't be maintained. It never gets really filtered before it goes into the wetlands. So where you see kind of the stakes in a circle that are orange, and I guess the picture's a little too far back and it's not maybe that obvious, but yeah, that circle we just highlighted, that area is going to be dug out, and there's going to be a forbearance bay put in there. So the pipe will be shortened, the water will dump into like a stone forbearance, and then it'll go into the wetlands. And then there's also at the same as it runs out into the stream, it'll also be stone riprap to kind of keep the water quality better, and it filters the water a little bit, prevents silt from eroding down. I did have a better picture. I don't know what I was thinking. Can't remember what pictures I took. I took them like an hour ago. So anyway, that circle is going to be the area that they're going to be working in next. That will be about a 3-day project. We should have the grading permits. It sounds like probably next week. As soon as they get the grading permits, they'll get in there and start digging and get that done in about. They'll have that done, the whole thing wrapped up in a week or less. And the entrance will be in right off the parking lot. They're going to put stone down. They're going to dig it out, cut the pipe off, put the stone in, and then do the final grade on that. All the vegetation that's going to be put around that, and then they're going to come and rip that stone driveway back out and fix that. So it'll be less than a week. Yes. So that naturally leads to the question of, before we get into these pictures, leads to the question of the Civil War reenactment. So the one thing we have continuously stressed on this project is that there's 3 things we're not going to mess with. One is baseball. So we've done everything we can not to interfere with parking for baseball. Number 2 is scout projects. And number 3 is, so we want to make sure our Eagle Scouts get their projects completed on time and get their Eagle Scout certification. And the third thing is the Civil War reenactment. So the great thing is we've stressed this stuff so much that Ecotone the other day, when we were talking about the final 3 phases of the project, are like, hey, when's the Civil War reenactment again? So it's, in case anybody didn't hear it earlier, it's October 6th through the 8th. The 6th is the student day, and then the 7th and 8th are the days it's open to the public. And we will have, there may be some areas around the stream, immediately around the stream, that are a little bit fenced off. We're going to try and have those open before the Civil War reenactment. It depends on the weather. It looks like we're going to have plenty of rain, so we should have vegetation and grass growing in. If we have the grass growing in, then we'll be able to completely open and take all the fencing down, which is what I'd prefer. But regardless, we have about a month to get all the grass growing and everything pulled out of the ground, so that for the Civil War reenactment, the bridge will be open. You'll be able to get to the bridge and cross it. The land on either side will be open. There may be, if there's areas that still need a little bit, we may fence in very small areas, but the goal is to have the vast majority of the park completely open for the Civil War reenactment. Yes.
Just one question.
Yes.
Will the tents that they erect, will they have any effect on?
Nope, they'll be fine. They'll be fine because they'll be up in the area that we didn't disturb.
They will be?
Yeah, I wouldn't anticipate that they would have the LOD or the limitations of disturbance is only 30, 40 feet from the stream. You wouldn't really want to set the tents up that close in case.
No, they set them back in.
Yeah, in case you wind up with a high water event like we have in the past. So there's actually the disturbance is on the north side, which is the side the playground's on, is actually very limited. It's only maybe 5 to 10 feet from the stream is where they disturb the soil, and most of that's all grown back anyway, especially in the area where the Civil War reenactment. The part that hasn't grown back is the portion up in the woods that they typically aren't into anyway. I'm meeting with General, help me here. Halk. I'm meeting with General Halk a few days in advance of the reenactment so that we can talk about new crossing points, because they used to kind of there was a place where they just kind of jumped across the creek. And that actually was some of those areas that were seeing erosion because everybody kind of went across there, and the banks of the creek were dumping into it and being washed away. What we're going to talk about is actually using those log veins as the crossing points, because they're actually fairly easy to cross. They're fairly narrow as long as the stream's not, as long as we don't have like a flood that day, they'll be able to easily cross at those log veins, which will give them nice places, or at the riffles. We'll keep them away from the pools because they're pretty deep. But so I already talked to him about working on those things. Additionally, the trail that we've been working on, the bridge that goes over the phase 3, which we're going to talk about in a minute, has a runoff that comes down from behind the baseball fields down through the park and then into the stream, where that area where we cross on the trail, where the bridge to cross that is in the LOD. So we're going to actually pour, weather permitting, the concrete for the footer should get poured tomorrow, and the bridge will get built probably this weekend. So we will have an additional bridge, and talk to General Halk about potentially using that for a skirmish over the bridge. So just to add some additional.
Will you be dressing up?
We'll see. Maybe.
We could even,
I'm not gonna, I'll stay away from that one. So anyway, we've got a lot of great things planned. We're getting the park kind of cleaned up and ready. And actually, if you want to bring up that other set of pictures, so we had a large area of Phragmites, which is a invasive, very tall grass, and we've been having a lot of trouble, so we eradicated it pretty well this week. Public Works went in and just mowed. So again, as Commissioner Authority said, the unsung heroes of the town. I mean, Public Works, I asked them to get some stuff done, and like it was later that day, it was done. So trees cut down, dead trees. We're starting to go through back in the wooded area where any of the trees that are dead, we're removing them. We're going to replant. I'm looking at possibly expanding our cypress grove a little bit. We're also going to probably add some poplars in certain areas to strategically have tall growing trees that'll quickly provide some shade. But we're trying. I've been actually talking with Rupert about eradicating that Phragmites probably for better than 2 years now, and in less than an hour we mowed it all down. So what we're finding is if we keep it mowed, it doesn't come back as thick as it was. So if we keep it mowed enough, it looks like it may eliminate it, because it's actually really hard to kill, and we can't use chemicals in that area without a lot of permits. So we've been trying to avoid any kind of herbicides or anything. But Public Works has done a great job of clearing that, and this is an area where a bunch of trees were planted previously, so I've been trying to get all that cleared back out so that we can, part of the Eagle Scout project coming up there is to put mulch around all of the existing trees. And that way we can do a better job of keeping that area mowed down to allow those trees to get established better. So, we've been trying to get all this mowed back out, and we'll be working on that. So, on the rest of the project for the grant money, the phase 3, we're actually, because we don't want to impact the Civil War reenactment, we're skipping over the swale in the park, and we're moving up behind the ball fields to do that section next. Once the Civil War reenactment's done and that part's completed, we'll come back into the park and finish the section of the swale that comes down through the park between the pavilion and the basketball courts. During that portion of the project, there will be a closure of that swale crossing for about 2 days while they put a pipe in. Kids would still be able to go up and kind of up behind the ball fields and come down through the woods to get to the basketball courts, but they're not going to be able to go across that swale. We're going to try and keep an opening in that swale as long as possible, but there is a day or two it'll actually be completely closed. Again, that whole project we plan to have it wrapped up by December, and that was a DNR grant, and we're actually on track to have that completed probably ahead of schedule a little bit.
If you're still here.
Right, if I'm still here. As far as back in the woods where we were showing that Eagle Scout project, there's a boardwalk being built back there. So our Eagle Scout Dan Few, Eagle Scout candidate I should say, is planning to wrap his project up by December. And he will be building a boardwalk, we're going to be mulching up some material on site and putting it down on the trails, and then again, material on site and putting it around the trees. And so, there's the park. Oh, and on that note, we have about $3,200 remaining of the open space grant that we're going to get wrapped up probably this week and get all that submitted. So we should be getting back around $6,200 from the state of Maryland this week, or by the end of the month, to cover the expenses of the lumber and such for back in the woods.
That's great.
So, and I think, one thing real quick, because you brought up Donate Life, I'd be remiss in not mentioning the monument for Christopher Barton Lewis that we removed so it wouldn't be damaged over in the park will be put back into the ground this week. And I've talked to the Maryland Department of Natural Resources, our representative from DNR, about getting a Y oak to plant, one of the Y oak saplings to plant in the park. And DNR is really excited. Actually, I've heard it through other people that she's talked about, and she's working on getting one for us.
That's
so
awesome.
Hopefully we get that in and can put that there at that monument.
Mr. Mayor,
I'm gonna I'm
I
sorry.
want to add something when he's done. Go ahead.
That's pretty much all. I'll just stop at that because I got more stuff, but you don't want to be here all night.
Will that Y O P be marked
Yeah.
with plaque?
Yes.
We're working on signage. Yeah.
Commissioner Othenry?
I just wanted to add a couple of things. One, the Kilby Cream event, I overheard the new owners talking to Commissioner Warnick. The success that night, they were just really so pleasantly surprised, and they even would like to do it more often next year. That was such a good event. But then also, I went down with Commissioner Warnick and did a tour of the facility at the park and all the work they've done. And kind of a double-edged sword blessing in disguise is all these heavy rains we've had. We found out that the work that's been getting done held up to that. We didn't wait till next summer when Ecotone's gone and everything, and then find out we get a heavy flooding rain and it washes away. So it's held up to the storms very well.
Yeah. And it
Eco-
worked the way it's supposed to. It kept,
Yeah.
it kept the
Ecotone's
stream
done
in
a-
the banks.
They've done a great job over there. They've been, it just, it's really impressive that they did this and it didn't all wash away at this time. So, and then as you've seen where he's cleared back in the field, where the trails are, that's going to be one of the main connections to the railroad bed trail that we're going to have built.
Thank you. And the last thing that I would say, and I'm sure Commissioner Warnick wouldn't say this himself, but I know this as a former Parks and Recreation Commissioner. The time you put into it is not compensated time. So all that time you see him down there, the times that he puts in for movies in the park showings, all of that is non-compensated. So that's a lot of hard work. And I think sometimes that people don't realize the commitment that it takes to put into this. Because if you're going to do it the right way and really have your heart into it, it's going to take a lot of time. Is there any other business to come before the board this evening? Hearing none, may I get a motion to adjourn?
You got some stuff on the back you want to read out there, some important dates first.
Yes, the important dates for upcoming for Planning Commission is September the 18th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. Then there's a Board of Zoning Appeals, which Calvin already mentioned, is September the 25th at 6:30. Our next town meeting is September the 26th at 7 p.m. And then we have upcoming dates for our town elections, which are Monday, October the 16th. We have a voter registration deadline of Friday, September the 15th. The last day to register for a candidate is Friday, September the 15th, and then the last day to request an absentee ballot is Friday, October the 6th, and absentee ballots will be due Monday, October the 16th as well. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you.